I got another list for you. Top five breakout quarterbacks in 2025. Who do I think is going to break out? Who do I think is going to set themselves apart in this 2025 season? And then, of course, top 10 safeties, continuing our list of top 10 players at each position going into the 2025 season. Hope you guys will stick around. Welcome to Armchair Analysis, this Wednesday edition, May 21st, 2025. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to these episodes over the last few weeks. They've been doing pretty well, and I'm really happy with that. And I just thank everybody for tuning in again, leaving your likes, comments, subscribing. Make sure you follow because on June 1st we kick off our preview season, where we preview every single Power 5 team, including Notre Dame, every single day, including weekends. It's going to be a lot of fun. We kick off with Florida State again on June 1st, 1 p.m. Eastern, as every other episode drops here on the channel. So I thank you guys for sticking around, and without any other interruptions, let's go ahead and get into today's topic, or topics. And I was tasked with finding 5 quarterbacks that I expect to break out the 2025 season and how I expect them to do that. Let's go ahead and talk about them. And we'll go one at a time here. And I'm going to start with Darian Mensah. He is my most likely breakout candidate here in 2025. Look, he's leaving Tulane to go to Duke and was slightly overshadowed, I'd believe, and I'd say, by Mekhi Hughes last year at Tulane. And of course, Ty Thompson was going to take the job no matter what. So Mensah decided to get out ahead of it. And he goes to Duke, where he's going to replace Malik Murphy. And I think that there's this expectation, or this thought maybe, that the Duke offense was as good as it can be with Malik Murphy last year, where in reality I expect Darian Mensah to come in and even elevate them further. I know they're losing a little bit more than we might like to see, but the defense is going to be good. I think this Duke team is going to be a really good team as well. I see them threatening to be maybe an 8 or a 9 win team in 2025, just at my early look. Again, I haven't done any digging at this time in the Duke, but early on I really like where they're at, and I think Darian Mensah is going to be a big part of that. Number 2, I had Caden Veltkamp leaving Western Kentucky to go to FAU, and this is solely because of who his head coach is, and that's Zach Kittley, former offensive coordinator at Texas Tech, making the jump to become a head coach, and he does it again at Florida Atlantic. This is going to be just unreal. I expect this FAU offense to be lights out all year long. It's going to start a lot with Veltkamp at quarterback, but a conference full of new head coaches, I think Zach Kittley is going to get his name stamped on staying power in the conference, and I have really high hopes for this FAU team, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them go. I think they're going to be I think they'll be a top 20 offense in the nation by the time it's all said and done. At number 3, I got Austin Simmons of Ole Miss. Everybody's expecting a good year from him, but we haven't ever seen him play, so how do we know? I think Austin Simmons is going to be a guy that breaks out, continues what Jackson Dart was last year, and just continues to run this Lane Kiffin offense the way it's intended. He looked really good in spring practice. I expect a lot of big things this fall. But the biggest thing, and the biggest reason I can tell you that to trust this take, if you trust Lane Kiffin and the way he develops quarterbacks, have no fear, especially if you're an Ole Miss fan, in Austin Simmons and what he'll be. At number 4, I got Thomas Castellanos of Florida State. If you watched college football closely enough, you know Thomas Castellanos already from Boston College. The biggest issue for him at BC was just a lack of weapons. I think was probably the biggest issue. He's easily going to have the best wide receiver room he's ever had. I don't think I would agree to say the best running back room he's ever had, but he will have a really solid running back room. It's all on the offensive line at Florida State, which is heavily transfer heavy, and it's going to take a while, I think, for them to gel. And they start off week 1 against Alabama. If the offensive line is playing correctly, Deuce Robinson, Squirrel White, amongst others in that wide receiver room, but those are the 2 transfers, the 2 big name transfers. We could open a season talking about Thomas Castellanos I don't know about being a Heisman contender, but being the reason that Florida State turns it around. Of course, it cannot go any further down, I don't believe, than what we got last year. And even in the absence of Jordan Travis in 2023, on through last year with DJU, this Florida State team needs a turnaround offensively. I think Castellanos is going to be the guy to give it to him. At number 5, I got Caden Hauser of East Carolina. This is we're ushering in a new era of ECU football, and in doing so, I think it's going to turn things around. Those of you who know, Caden Hauser came over from Michigan State and has not been bad. As a matter of fact, he's been relatively a solid quarterback. I expect him to step forward, and I know that's going to be a tough ask. I know that Chase Sowell leaving and going to Iowa State's a big deal, but I expect Hauser to lead this team, lead this program into this new era, and have ECU take a step forward in 2025, especially with what they have coming back. A new regime, a new mentality in the locker room, and again, we talked about the American Athletic Conference being kind of wide open due to having more than half of the schools in the American are bringing in a new head coach. I think ECU's in a really good spot based on experience. So those are my 5 breakout quarterbacks going into 2025. Let me know who you agree with, who you don't, and I'll be happy to have those conversations down in the comments section below. I need some water, so forgive me. But the top 10 safeties entering at 2025. This is easily the hardest list I've ever made because I could have done anything, went with anyone, and some guys just missed out. Some guys that people probably think should be in just missed out. But this is how we went with it. So let's go down from 10 to 1. At number 10, I got Antoine Peak of Cincinnati. Look, this is a guy who stepped up, was a really big part of this defense last year. I expect him to take a further leadership role, continue to build. And again, I mean, I have him as a top 10 safety. I think he's going to play as a top 10 safety in 2025. At number 9, I got Michael Taffy of Texas. A guy that didn't quite, I don't want to say broke onto the scene. He was certainly overshadowed by Andrew Makuba, who was on that defense, but now he's going to step up and it's going to be all him. With that being the case, I expect him to jump into the top 10 in 2025. At number 8, I have KJ Bolden of Georgia. Honestly, I could have went higher here, but overshadowed again, like Taffy. KJ Bolden was overshadowed by Malachi Starks for the majority of the early portion of his career. I expect a big breakout from KJ Bolden and potentially to put his name up into the top 5, and I would say even the top 3 safeties in college football this season. Number 7, I got Ahmad Moses, and he's going to be paired with my number 6, Isaiah Nokobia of SMU. Both of these guys lead what is a very experienced Mustang defense in 2025, and that's something that they need. They struggled a little bit defensively, and they struggled in their non-conference schedule. They rolled through the ACC schedule. As a matter of fact, they were unbeaten in the ACC schedule. What they did not do, however, was play the best of defense, especially down the stretch. I expect a big-time turnaround. I think a lot of it's going to be led by these two guys playing safety, Nokobia and Moses. SMU is not going anywhere. This team is still really solid. They're playing the NIL game just as good as anybody ever has. And they would know. I mean, they did it before anybody else. Joking. Jokes aside. SMU is not going anywhere, and a large part of that's going to be this defense. Nokobia, Moses, 2 names to watch out for in 2025. At number 5, Dylan Thieneman, Oregon. This guy was the man at Purdue last year in a team that went 1-11. It was a lone bright spot. He transfers out to go to Oregon, and he's going to join what's a really solid defense, a defense that I think Dan Lanning has his hands on a little bit more than we expect or we think. We're going to bring in a guy in Thieneman who's an All-American caliber player who can be and take over a leadership role immediately. And word is that the team has kind of taken to him already. If that's the case, I expect Oregon's defense to be just as good as last year. I expect this Oregon team to be really solid once again. A large part of that's going to come in the secondary. At number 4, I got Terry Moore of Duke, one of the best rated safeties in college football last year. And again, another part of this Duke team that I think is just going to be so good, so experienced. I think Manny Diaz has taken what Mike Elko left, which was a solid roster, solid framework, and is putting his own stamp on it. And he's going to make Duke a contender, a year in, year out contender. There's going to be days and years where they're a little down. But down now, with these guys, at least as long as they stay in charge, down years might be 4-8 rather than 2-10, as it was 15 years ago. David Cutcliffe, as great as he was to the university, his down years were rock bottom sometimes. Right here with these two, we've seen an uptick. We've seen a growth in talent coming in to the university. I think this is a really solid roster, a team that I think again could push that somewhere between 7 and 9. And I'm going to say probably on the top half of that, probably 8 or 9 wins in 2025. At number 3, I got Bud Clark of TCU. This is the best safety in the Big 12. Plain and simple. He might be the best defensive back in the Big 12. I haven't quite gotten there yet. We'll see what I have for cornerbacks. Tune in tomorrow if you want to see what I get there. But Bud Clark is one of my favorite players in college football. He can be a game wrecker. He has the talent and the potential to be an absolute game wrecker at safety for the Horned Frogs this year, and he's another big reason I expect their defense to take a step forward. If that's the case, and Josh Hoover projects and does what I think everybody expects him to do, especially those in Fort Worth, I expect TCU to take a step forward and be even closer to Big 12 title, maybe even in the championship game. At number 2, I got Coy Perrick of Minnesota. One of the best safeties in college football last year, and he's super young too. Like, he's got, I think, at least 2 more years. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going into a sophomore year right now. And we get a couple more years to watch this guy grow and do what Minnesota safeties have been doing for a handful of years now. I mean, PJ Fleck seemingly has this knack for getting at least one good safety, really solid guy in the secondary. And a lot of people are going to say this is a completely, like, a very high rating for him. I'm expecting a lot. This is a huge projection. But I am putting Coy Perrick at number 2 from the Minnesota Golden Gophers. At number 1, there should be no question. Caleb Downs is the best safety in college football. And he's coming back for another year and getting another chance to work. And he's going to work in a different defense once again. He came from Alabama after Nick Saban left and really excelled in the Jim Knowles defense, I would say. And now he's going to work in Matt Patricia's defense, the new defensive coordinator at Ohio State. And I expect really, really big things again. He's going to be the leader of this defense. He's the most experienced guy on the defense, if I'm not mistaken. And there may be a couple other guys. I know Davis Igbenogsen's back. But he's going to be the most experienced and truthfully the most, I would say, the most talented as of right now. I could be wrong. I know there are some Ohio State fans that are going to be watching this. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I expect really big things from Caleb Downs once again, and being that guy that can really turn a game on its head. So that's my top 10. Let's talk about some guys that just missed out. Devonta Smith transferred from Bama to Notre Dame. I expect big things for him, a good step up into a role. I almost had him in the top 10, ended up just leaving him out. Caleb Weaver transferred from Sam Houston to Duke. I expect big things. He's going to pair with Terry Moore really well. Again, just another reason that I really like Duke this year. Jerron Manning transferred from Old Dominion to Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby did some work in the portal this year. Actually, as a matter of fact, a lot of work in the portal this year. Don't know how much of an improvement it's going to bring to the program, but he's bringing in a lot of really highly graded guys and a lot of highly respected guys at the Group of 5 level. Jerron Manning's another one of those. Robert Spears Jennings of Oklahoma just missed out on this list. And lastly, a guy that I left out simply because I didn't know if I trusted coming back from an injury. It's been 14 months since he touched the field, and as a matter of fact, just a week ago, maybe a little over a week ago, Rod Moore was back on the field running full speed on the ground for the first time in 14 months. He got hurt in the spring practices last year, was not able to play, of course, got that medical exemption. He will be back in 2025. How good will he be, and how quickly? The ultimate thing is that Rod Moore is one of the most high IQ football players that was considered. The issue is, it has nothing to do with how smart he is. I'm sure that he's been studying and making sure that he's ready to go mentally to get back on the field. But you do lose a step no matter what when you have not played in over a year, when you've missed a full season of college football, and most importantly, when you're coming back from a knee injury, you lose a step, especially as a defender. I couldn't justify putting him top 10, but I think that there is potential for Rod Moore to break out and be, I don't even want to say break out because he's been good, and everybody who's seen him play knows that he's good. It's just a matter of how quickly does he get past the injury, and how quickly does it begin to no longer hamper or affect his potential play on the field. And then the last one I had left out was Bray Hubbard, a guy who I considered heavily. Left him out, but I could see a world where Bray Hubbard ends up being a top 10 safety at the end of the season. As always, let me know who I missed. I'm going to go ahead and pop the list up on the screen here for you. Again, that is Caleb Downs, Coy Perrick, Bud Clark. Those are your top 3 in that order. Terry Moore and Dylan Thieneman go 4 and 5. Isaiah Nwokobia, Ahmad Moses, KJ Bolden, Michael Taffy, and Antoine Peak Jr. Let me know who you guys have and who you guys think I missed out on. Again, I'm always happy to have those conversations in the comment section below. If you've made it this far, please leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. That way you don't ever miss a single video that we drop here. And remember, June 1st, Florida State preview. It kicks off what I'm calling preview season here on the channel. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow. Top 10 cornerbacks in college football.